The farm is just up to my left. The house and buildings are at 1,000 feet above sea level. The fells behind us are what are collectively known as the Howell Gills, but there are really 4 separate commons: Rensdale Common, Langdale Fell, Teby Fell and Brant Fell Common. So these falls, when winter's finished, will go out there, and that's where they've been all this last summer. I've been here all my life. I went to school from here, and when I left school, Dad took another farm further down the valley, the same fells but just further down the valley, and we farmed them both together. And when my parents retired, I chose to keep this, mostly because it has the more rights for ponies, you see. And if it wasn't for the grazing rights, we certainly wouldn't be able to keep the number of ponies that we're able to, because they can be out there 24/7, and so it spares having to have them in byland. And that's what they're bred for. That's their native, natural environment. We have rights for sheep, cattle, ponies, and even geese. Some people have the rights for geese. I don't think I have any. When you're born and bred here, you take it for granted a lot of the time. But as you get older, you appreciate it more. There are ponies out there that haven't been home yet, and we're desperately trying to get them back, or get feed to them. And this has lasted for 3 weeks now, exactly. 3 weeks. And although they are very good at pawing away at the snow and clearing ground for themselves, and that's obviously what they've had to do for the last 3 weeks. But we would sleep better of a night if we thought we could get more feed to them, either in big bales or little bales. A week ago we were looking, well, we've been looking for quite a while now, just to see where they are and what condition they're in. And a lot of these deep valleys, when they get into the valley bottoms, it's a different day. There's not the wind, and there's the snow, but it isn't quite as hard frozen perhaps, and they can work. You know, they can work with their feet and get to the and we didn't see anything that needed bringing home. If there is anything to be said, it is fortunate that it's come now. It's come at the beginning of winter, and what nutrition they find in the grass is still relatively good. Now, if this had come in March, it would have been a different story, because what they get then is of far less nutritional value, and then the mares are heavier in fall, and they would be taking worse hurt then. There are those that never come home, and the winter, on an ordinary winter, they winter just as well as those that do come home, but they'll be suffering a little bit now. We still have to carry the hay a little bit. I mean, yesterday I went up a remote valley, and I had to walk a mile with a bale of hay on my back, over my shoulder. Well, I don't want to be doing that so often. I'd rather have them a bit nearer home. These foals are born in May, and so they're not a year old until May, are they? And so when they go out, when I turn these out to the fell again in April, they're just under a year old. But they're quite capable of coping with, coping with the grass, the new grass that's coming. Well, yeah, it is an exciting time, because if you've been trying new stallions and you like to see what you get, one of these foals is not by one of my stallions, it's by Loonsville Red Start. And I'm quite pleased with it. I think it's that one at the back of the, next to the wall. As you can see, they're not handled, although one of them has been to a show, but they're not handled much. By the end of winter, they'll have lost that silliness, diving about, racing about. But I have many ponies that haven't been handled much and haven't had a halter on them. But there's something romantic about that. Ponies untouched. There's not many animals, livestock, that aren't untouched. And when they're up them fells, in their native surroundings, semi-wild means semi-wild. And that's what these will be, you know. There will be semi-wild. Yeah, if you were wanting to sell them, you would handle them a bit. Although any foals that I take to the auction, I tend just to take them straight, you know, after they've been weaned, just take them to the auction. I don't tend to handle them much. I should do, I suppose, but then when you're a one-man band, you're a one-man band, and you know, they're not good to manage on your own. Yeah, a dark, small buyer or hull is ideal. Or even into a trailer. You just run them, drive them into a trailer, and then you have a, you know, you're really in close quarters with them. Put a halter on them, or a head collar, or just to be able to handle them, just to be able to scratch them. Then they know that you're not there, you're not going to harm them as much. Yep. Well, I usually just talk to them. You know, just talk to them quietly. You know, if they're diving about, just say steady, steady, steady. But like you say, that noise. That's an easy way of asking a pony to move on or move out of your way. But a lot of people use that to go up to them, and for me that's wrong. You've got to be very distinctive what you want a pony to do with whatever noise you make towards them, and that means walk on, especially if you're riding or driving them. Yep. Yep. I like to see nice legs under them for a start and plenty of feather. And I know they do look like peas in a pod, and I suppose that's how we should be breeding them, like peas in a pod. And so if you're satisfied with how a stallion is breeding, then it's proof of a good sire. Maybe the only difference is that the one by Loonsdale Red Start has rather a bigger head, but then they don't walk on their heads, they walk on their legs. And it's the quality of leg that I like to see first and foremost. Oh, well, I've always been interested in ponies, and when I was a little boy I used to have a scrapbook. It wasn't until I was 12 that I got my first pony, and it's flourished since then, I suppose. It's the first time we've been out since they were put in. The weather's been too bad, hasn't it? They'll dive about a bit now because I think this snow's exciting. It'll be the first snow they've ever seen, won't it? Oh, the ponies. Come on then, eh? Come on then. Come on, show yourselves off. They should feel at home here because it's where they were born. These fields are where they're born in. They'll show the paces now. Look at that. Makes them pick their feet up. Oh, don't break the gate. Steady. I have 10 or 15 foals every year. And like I said, these are the filly foals. The colt foals have already gone to our sales. And we just like to keep a few replacement fillies so that we can sell off our older ponies. It's been neglected for so many years now that the younger generation out there, and you know, there'll be a tremendous lot of farmers over the age of 50. So it hasn't really encouraged the youngsters to stay on, because it has been in the doldrums for the last 15 years as agriculture. I know that because I've never been able to put anything away in a savings for the last 15 years. And that's not good, is it? If you can't make a living plus add a little bit to your savings for later on. And I haven't a wife and family to keep. How some of these chaps are doing that have, you know, a big family and the rest of it to finance. But then we're not here for the money of it, are we? We're here for the love of it.